Hi, welcome to Wealthy Boss. My name is Mariah, and today I have a special bender ball workout plan for you that specifically targets the abs and the core from all angles. So I'm going to actually be using two of the bender balls. If you only have one, don't worry, there's just a couple of exercises that we'll be utilizing two. So we've got lots of options for you. And if you don't have a bender ball and want some options on either how to get one or alternatives, just make sure to read below in the comments. Are you ready? Let's get started.
Let's begin on our mats in an all fours position. So hands and knees. And we're gonna start off right off the bat with a big challenge. So we are going to place our hands on the bender ball right underneath the chest. Now from here, to make it more challenging, we're going to slide the palms so that the fingertips are off the ground. Now again, this is an extra layer of challenge, so at any point if you want to either slide your fingertips down onto the mat or just take your hands completely off the ball onto the mat, I totally get it. You're totally welcome to do that. So from the starting position, squeezing the belly in away from the floor, I want you to take your right leg behind you and make sure those hips are squared. Just simply take a nice little leg lift and down and up and down. Notice if the leg that's lifting up, if that hip wants to open up to the side. If so, could you lower that hip a little bit closer to the ground? This may mean that your leg doesn't come all as high up, but that's okay because we're actually working the gluteus much, much more. We're also working into the obliques are really helping to stabilize this. You got it. We got two more. And then I'd like you to hold it up at the top. Again, drop that right hip if it just opened up to the side. And then I want you to take it halfway down, all the way back up. So this time the leg doesn't even come to the ground. Whew, golly. Good, make sure you're breathing some nice, deep, steady breaths here. Continuously think about pulling the belly button in away from the ground. That's going to help protect your back. 3, 2, 1. Now hold at the top. Again, level out those hips. This time we're taking that right leg out to the right at a diagonal. Ooh. And then squeeze it behind you in towards the midline. Back out to the right. In towards the left. See how still you could keep your torso as you do this, and you're really going to get more core engagement that way. Could we do one more? And back, and let's set that knee down. Wow, we really started off with a bang. Now let's sway those hips side to side. If you need to roll out those wrists, you can sit back on your heels for a second and do that. And then of course we have another side to do. So whenever you're ready, we're going to come back onto all fours. This time it's the left leg that extends behind us with square hips, belly pulling in. We're gonna lift that leg as high as it'll go without lifting the hip open. Yes. Spread your fingers to help protect the wrists. Really squeezing. You should be feeling this in the seat of the right leg mostly. That's how you know you're doing it right. Go ahead, make sure you don't get if you start to get fatigued in the upper body, make sure you're not dumping and arching into your spine. We still want to keep the abs pulled in. Go ahead, 3 more. Now pause at the top. This is where we take that top half. So halfway down, all the way up. Yes, this is pure booty right now. So a lot of people don't realize that your glutes are an important part of your core. Your core is a lot more than just your abdominals. But the abs are also super stabilizing this movement right now, so they're working as well. Yes, let's do 3, 2, good, hold at the top. So you're still lifting as high as you can, but you're dropping that left hip down. We're gonna slide that leg on a diagonal right out to the left. Oh, there's those obliques. And then squeeze it back in towards the behind the midline. Good, 3 more times each direction. Make sure you're still pressing in that space between the shoulder blades so that your upper body is in great alignment supporting this movement. 1 more, please. Wow, great job. All right, go ahead and Take those hands off of the ball. Let's sit back on the heels just for a moment and figure 8 those wrists. We have a little bit more here to do from all fours, and then we're heading into plank. So if at any point you need to come down on to your forearms, that's great, but giving your wrists a little movement and mobility between each exercise can also help. So coming back to all fours, my hips are still over my knees, so I have a deep bend at the crease of my hips. From here, I'm going to tuck the toes behind me. I'm keeping the hips right above the knees. I'm just going to hover the knees about 3 inches and then tap the ground. Hover, tap, hover, tap. Good. I'm steady pressure into that ball will help engage those inner thighs. Now, higher is not actually better on this one. You want to keep this nice and low. Good. Let's do 4 more. 3, 2. Good. Now come down for just a moment and I'm going to demonstrate the next version. We're just going to add on. So we start with that hover or that lift, and then it's 3 squeezes into that ball, tap the ground. Lift, 3 squeezes, tap. Let's see if you can join in with me. It's lift, squeeze, 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 tap, lift, squeeze, 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 tap, lift, squeeze, 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 keep going. So there's also a little bit of a C curve in your spine here. You want to think about that belly button riding up to the next floor on an elevator every time you lift the knees. Whew, yes, this will do it. Can we do 3 more just like that? Make sure you're breathing. Good, now at the end of this next one, I want you to hold. Just pause here. Give me 8 squeezes to finish. Yes, we're almost done with this shape. And come back down to the ground. Awesome. You can keep that ball between the legs, and we'll just find a nice child's pose here. That feels so good. Good. Now we're going to press up into a plank position, keeping that ball between the inner thighs. So if it fell out, you can just kind of slide it back in. And again, at any point, if you prefer to do this on forearms, that can be a little bit nicer on your wrists. It just works a slightly different angle of the back. And we're just going to start with simply squeezing that ball in. Hips are level with the ribs. Make sure you're really lifting out between the shoulder blades. So we're getting some nice work in the upper back here as well. Everything's hugging inward. Belly is moving away from the ground, but the hips still stay pretty low. Give me 4 more. 2, 1. Okay, now you can take a rest or you can join me. You can hover that right leg up just a bit. Obviously, it can't go too high because of the ball there. Bring it back down and then squeeze it in. So you're just going to alternate lifting it up, down, in, out. Up, down, in, out. Continuously thinking about hugging the belly button closer to the spine. Use some deep breaths here. There's a temptation to hold your breath, but we need all the help we can get. Oxygen helps fuel this movement. Yes. Up, down, in, out. Up, down, in, out. Last one. So nice. So knees come down just for a moment, and then we'll pop back up. We're gonna head right into the other side. Big focus on core today, just making it short and sweet. So that left leg now, we lift it up, down, in, out. Up, down, in, out. Keep going. Now I want you to pay attention to what your upper body is doing. Are you really pressing the floor away? If you're on your hands, are your fingers spread wide? Good. Yes, you can do this. Up, down, in, out. Up, down, in, out. Last one. Woo, and knees come down. Take a breather. We've got a little bit more to do here. You're doing so well. This is so intense for the core, I know. All right, whenever you're ready, you can join us in plank position. We're just gonna take the hips and dip them down to the right side and down to the left. Down to the right, down to the left. You kind of have to swivel on your toes a little bit, so find a foot placement that works for you here. Good. And let's just do 2, 1, and hallelujah, it is time to come down onto the mat just for a little bit, just for one movement. Moving into our spinal extension, we're gonna press the hips into the ground, and then we're gonna take that ball all the way forward. Now do be careful that your shoulders are drawing away from the ears as opposed to reaching towards the ball. Your hands are reaching towards the ball, but your shoulders are reaching back down towards the back body. Now placing both hands on that ball, I want you to lift up using the strength of your mid-back muscles on the exhale, and then inhale, roll all the way down, forehead to mat. Let's do that again. Exhale, rise. So you're really pressing the hips into the mat. And inhale, lower down. This is so good for counteracting all the forward slumping that we tend to do in the day, working your spine in extension as opposed to flexion. Let's do 2 more. And then let's find a counter stretch for that. So child's pose, just send maybe the knees come wide this time, hips towards the heels. So good. All right, we're gonna roll over now onto a side plank position. Now, if at any point this becomes too challenging for you, or it's not just not feeling like what you wanna do after already being 12 minutes into our practice, then you can take the knee down to the ground. But if you do that, I want the knee to be directly under the hip and not at an angle. So it would be a 90-degree angle just to help support that movement. Otherwise, we can come into that full side plank. The ball we're just going to use as a bit of a guide here. Maybe as we hold our static plank, we take that ball overhead, back up to the sky, and now we're going to add a rotation. So we reach that ball underneath the ribs and then send it back up to the sky. Good. Think about exhaling as you twist, inhaling as you open. Let's do 2 more. Last one. Good. And then come all the way down, take that hip down to the ground. We're going to bend into the bottom knee. Top leg is long, keeping that foot on the ground. That's the key here. That's really going to maximize the movement. I'm going to have you take your fingertips down to the ground and form a little tent. I like to form a little tent with my fingertips. This reminds me to not do too much of the work with my arm. I want to think about the work coming from my waist as I straighten into the elbow and lift and lower, lift and lower. Now, I don't care how high you lift. What I care most about is that that heart is shining forward. And that top shoulder is just as far back as the bottom shoulder. Good. Exhale as you lift, inhale as you lower. One more, please. Now, that is amazing. This might be a perfect time for a break for you. Or if you really want that extra challenge and you're like, give me all the abs, or in this case, obliques, then here's the extra challenge for you. You can come all the way down, elbow to the ground, head into your hand. Now remember, we're keeping that top foot anchored into the mat. Shoulders are stacked, and it would be a little hover and lower. Hover and lower. Exhale, inhale. Exhale, inhale. Even if you're just lifting up in your head, even if it's not visible, I promise you your muscles are working. Now, could you hold here? Could you hold and hover? Maybe extend that bottom arm long. Maybe extend the top arm long, only if you have a reason to. And come down. Awesome. We're going to come back into a side plank position on the same side, but this time we're just going to come down onto the forearm. That ball now comes between the legs. Yes. And then carefully, we're going to roll that top leg 2 inches forward, 2 inches back. 2 inches forward, 2 inches back. Make sure those hips are level with the ribs. They're not dipping in the hips. They stay nice and lifted. 2, 1. Now pause here. Give me little squeezes in, in. So top leg is just squeezing like it's trying to meet the bottom leg for 3, 2, 1. Fantastic. Well, I've got some good news for you. This side is done. Let's even out the other side. So we're just going to switch to the other side of our mat. We're starting with that side plank. And we take that ball with us as a guide. Maybe taking that ball now over the head, back up to the sky, and then exhale. Let's find that twist. And open. Twist. And open. This is a great balance challenge as well. 2 more. Last one. Good. And now you'll take that hip all the way down onto the ground. Top leg is long. Little tense into my fingertips here as I take that ball underneath my hip. And it's a lift and lower. Lift and lower. Play with the positioning of the ball if you need to find that perfect amount of challenge for you. It's somewhere between the hip bone and the rib, bottom rib. Yes, let's do 2. Here's 1. Now, if you were taking the challenge on the other side, let's make sure we try to see how this side feels as well. So elbow comes down to the ground, head into the hand, maybe fingertips to the temple now. Make sure to plant that top foot down. That's more important than how high or if you even take flight at all, but we're going to find that little hover and lower. Hover and lower. Yes, you are getting so strong. This is so good for your body to work the core in all planes of motion. Yes, let's do 2. 1, hold at the top. Maybe if you're feeling frisky, that bottom arm comes long. Maybe the top arm reaches overhead and come all the way down. Good. Lifting up into our side plank. Remember, we're going to stay down onto the forearm now. That ball comes between the legs, and the top leg is just going to roll forward and then roll back. So we want to keep that ball in there, but of course, if it rolls out, just grab it and pop it back in. Woo, make sure those hips are still lifting high. Make sure you're still lifting out of the shoulder girdle, so you're really pressing that ground away from you with the forearm. Last one, and now we're just going to do little squeezes in. Everything else is still except that top leg. 3, 2, 1. Oh my goodness, come all the way down. We're going to press ourselves up into a seated position. And we're going to move that ball behind the base of the spine. So we're going to start with it fairly wedged in there, so pretty close to the sacrum. Knees are bent, soles of the feet are on the ground. And we're just going to lean back until we start to feel something turn on in the abdomen area. And then come back up. So inhale back, exhale lift. So simple crunches. Because we have the ball behind us, this is really going to help take the work and the pressure off the spine and out of the hip flexors so that the abdominals are truly doing the most work, which is where we want to really focus to make sure that we're balanced and even. Good. Now, if you wanted more, you could take the arms overhead. Woo, yes. But if you do that, be careful that you're still going very slow and controlled and you're not flinging the arms to propel you forward. This is all about you doing the work, not momentum. Let's do 2. 1. Now let's come up just for a moment. Catch a quick little sip of air here. Now we're going to lean back. This time the arms come with us. We're going to pause here. We open the arms to a count of 2 and close. Inhale, open. Exhale, close. Now, if you're starting to do a little shaky shake, that's a good thing. That's why we do this. It's also why we call these the Earthquake Abs series. Last one. Ooh la la, come all the way up. Now, if you're utilizing a second ball, then at this point, you would go ahead and grab that. Or you can use nothing. You can have crossed arms here. Or you could also even grab a weight if you had it, a dumbbell, for a little extra challenge work. I'm going to use a ball. Moving into our Russian twist. And I'm also going to maybe start to slide that ball just a touch further behind me. So maybe, not a lot, maybe just an inch or two. And then take it from side to side. So again, if you're not using the ball, you could just move into I Dream of Jeannie arms and reach each elbow towards the floor. It does not have to touch. Yes, great rotational work here. Do one more each side. Awesome. Okay, now from here, this one's going to sound a little bit funny, so stay with me. So this is if you do have two balls. If not, this might just be a great time for you to take a little breather. Otherwise, you can still do the movement without the second ball between your feet, but do keep the ball behind your back. So that second ball would now come between the feet. Fingertips reach behind you, and then leaning your weight into that ball, press the soles of the feet together, and then it's a little lift of that ball off the ground, and then take the knees to connect and open, connect, open. The more you press into that ball, the harder this is. Could you do 2, 1? Now pause here with the knees open. This time it's just a squeeze like you're trying to get the feet to touch. Just squeeze in, in, in. 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh my goodness gracious, yes. Now return those soles of the feet to the ground. That should feel really good. We're gonna move that ball 1 inch further along the back, but it's still pretty low. We're not anywhere close to the shoulder blades yet. And then we're gonna take one at a time, hinging from the hip. We're gonna take some alternating toe taps here. Good, if this is easy, probably nothing is easy at this point. This is quite an extended abdominal series we're doing, but if you wanted, you could add arms overhead. Yes. And then if you wanted to move on even more, you would take both legs at the same time. Double leg taps. Yes, we're borrowing this movement from Pilates. 3, 2, and 1. Oh my goodness. Yes. All right, from here, we're gonna come all the way on to our back. So we're gonna take that ball away from us. Move that ball in between the ankles or the shins. Reaching up, we're gonna grab hold of that ball, and then as we lower the legs, we're gonna take the ball overhead. And then reach up, move to the ball to the legs. Now, I want you to be really careful here that every time you lower your legs, your low back is still making contact with the mat and it's not arching. So if you notice that their back is having to arch in order to get your legs lower, then just don't take the legs quite so low. Good. Let's do 3, 2. Here's 1. Awesome. Come all the way down. Rest the back of your head on the mat. I'm gonna have you take that ball between either the knees with bent knees, or like, I guess, inner thighs, and then have the knees bent. Or if you wanted more challenge, the ball would come between the ankles and the legs would come long. I want both shoulders to stay on the ground, please. So I'm more concerned about that than about how far you go side to side. You're gonna take both legs over from one side to the other. Arms are spread wide to help support your balance base. And you're never coming all the way down to the ground. You're coming just to that point beyond the point of no return. Really working against gravity here with the obliques. Let's do 1 more each side. Amazing. Coming into our bridge position now, I'd like that ball to come between the inner thighs, if it's not already. Knees are will be bent, and then feet are on the ground. Pressing the backs of the shoulders and the triceps along the ground, I'm gonna have you lift those hips up into a bridge, and we're just gonna lower the hips 6 inches, squeeze 3 times, lift them up high, squeeze 3 times, and repeat that pattern. So it's down, squeeze 3 times, up, squeeze 3 times. You could also take the hips all the way down to the ground if that feels a little nicer for you. Good, let's do 2 more. Last one. Now pause here at the top, and we're gonna finish with 8 little pulses. 8, 7, so we're just squeezing in. 5, 4, 3, keep the hips lifted, 1. Now pause here at the top. We're gonna hold that ball in place and then alternate lifting right leg at a diagonal and then left. So we're just extending the leg and we're not actually reaching the leg all the way up to the ceiling. We're just taking it at a diagonal. So the knees don't move, the knees stay parallel. Good. Now pause here, right leg stays elevated, and we're just gonna squeeze it in, 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 in. Give me 4, 3, 2. Set that one down. Now the other side, 8, 7, 6. Are your hips still parallel? Are your hips still lifted? 2, 1, and let's roll down bone by bone. Oh, goodness gracious, that feels so good, right? It will feel good when it's over. We're almost done. Stay with me here. I want you now to take the ball behind the knee and the hamstring of the right leg. So we're moving into a single leg bridge off the left leg. And then from here, we're gonna hinge up from the hip of the right leg and then tap that toe down to the ground. Lift, tap. So we're just taking the knee from pointing up to the ceiling to coming to be parallel with the left knee. Good. Could you pause here at the top? Give me 3 little squeezes into that ball. In, in, in. Good. Now, take that leg out at a diagonal, keeping the knee bent, and then in towards the midline. Good. So that knee is pointing up to the sky and we're just taking it side to side like a little windshield wiper. Last one. Yes. And then come all the way down. We'll see how the other side feels. Awesome. Awesome, awesome. This is so impressive. If you've made it this far, whew, you have my respect. Let's make the other side feel just as nice. So we just squeeze that ball between the knee and the hamstring, coming up into our single leg bridge. Lift the left knee up to the sky, keeping that 90-degree bend, and then tap that down to the ground. Lift and tap. Of course, the more that you squeeze into that ball, the more you're engaging into the hamstrings and glutes, which are important for keeping your core balanced. 2, 1. Now pause at the top. Give me 3 little squeezes into that ball. Now we're going to take that knee out to the left side and then out to the right. So we're keeping a 90-degree bend the whole time. Steady pressure into that ball. Yes, last time. And lower all the way down. Fantastic. One more thing to do here and then we cool down. We worked so hard, but let's really just finish strong. Let's just go all out. From here, feet come onto the ball. This is one of the most advanced bridging options there is. So just have fun with it. If you don't feel successful with it the first time, don't worry. This is not easy by any means. So take the feet side by side, pressing shoulders and arms into the ground. Hips come up to the sky with the feet on the ball. Yes, just a simple lift here. All your stabilizing muscles are having to work like crazy here. So this is a highly functional movement. It helps all your supporting muscles know how to kick in and help keep you balanced and strong and free from injury. Make sure you're still breathing. Maybe now you start to roll your heels onto the front top of the ball as you straighten the legs. Maybe a little or a lot. Bring it back in. Little hamstring curls here. 2, 1, and you are done, my friend. Roll those bones down one at a time. One nice thing that we're going to do here just to make us feel really, really good and undo all of that contraction and effort, take that ball and place it really low on the base of the spine, so the sacrum. It's lower than the arch. You want to kind of just right on the bottom. And then from there, allow all your weight to sink into that ball. This should feel really nice. Arms come out to the side to help balance you. Now this is all about releasing, absorbing every good thing we just did for the body. This was a very tough practice that we did today. So just take a moment to honor yourself for making this investment, for trying something, giving thanks for the fact that you can move your body and make it stronger. And then gently lift the hips up, roll down one vertebrae at a time. Knees come into the chest, and let's rock ourselves up into a seated position.
Thank you so much for joining me for this special abs and core focus with the bender ball. Amazing. Again, don't worry if some of these felt a little bit inaccessible for you today. That's why we have a video that you can come back to anytime and repeat it and really make a habit out of it. And speaking of making exercising a habit, if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, I do release new workout videos with related to barre, yoga, and Pilates every single week. So please do hit that subscribe button so that we can work out again next time. Thank you so much.